Los geht's.
Die Sprachübertragung beginnt jetzt. Alle Teilnehmer befinden sich im Zuhörermodus.
Okay, hello everyone and welcome to webinar today. I am Janina. You might know me from a couple of other webinars we did today, and Matrix was going to answer questions that you have. So whenever you feel like you have a question, don't hesitate to ask them in your questions tab. Okay, let's get started right away. Come on. There we are. I actually don't have much to present today. The only thing I have is a really good tutorial that our colleague Marcus has recorded just 2 days ago about Phidgets, because the new Phidgets integration is a brand new feature from the latest beta version. And if you want to get started, or if you have a couple of issues, just go ahead and watch that little tutorial on YouTube. My colleague is also going to post it in your chat. So what you can already see in our setup is a camera image. So what I set up is a couple of Phidgets. I'm going to explain what Phidgets is what, so that we have a little, well, a chain reaction thingy. We're going to take a look at the Phidgets and how to integrate them in Widget Designer now with a new version. And then we're going to have a lot of fun, like the title announced. Okay, out of bandwidth reasons, I'm going to switch off my regular webcam. I hope you're not going to miss me. Okay, let's get ahead with the Phidgets. It's a bit tough right now because of the cables that are not really long enough for what I want to do. So yeah, I hope you don't mind me switching around. So let's take a look. First of all, those of you who have already worked with Phidgets should know this item. This is a regular interface kit, 888. So I have 8 digital inputs, 8 digital outputs, and 8 analog inputs for all kinds of sensors like faders or the sound sensor, stuff like that. I have a second version of that over here. And the new thing now, a VINT Hub over here. That is now integrated as well. Connected to the VINT Hub, we have one sound sensor, we have one fader input, and I have a little light sensor over here. All the digital outputs you see over here and over here are connected to LEDs. So these over here are connected to these 8 LEDs, red and green. And these over here are 5 LEDs. One is the one above the light sensor, and 4 in my little Tabasco box. That's RGB and yellow. Okay, and the last thing we have is an RFID reader. That has been integrated before as well. And our little ferry wheel with RFID tags on it. Okay, you've seen the setup. Now let's take a look. What you should also know is that the compact player you see at the edge is also connected. And this is another new feature that we have, and with a new integration, we can now use Phidgets over network. So I have a few Phidgets, the VINT Hub and the RFID reader, connected directly to my laptop. And all the other Phidgets are connected to the compact player, which is in the same network as my laptop. And you will see that we can now have a whole network of computers having Phidgets connected to them, and we can use everything everywhere. Okay, position change. And we are back again. So much fun. Okay, we can remove the PowerPoint and open up a Widget Designer window. Okay, great. So first of all, how do I get to Phidgets manually? So when I order Phidgets, there's a website where they have all different kinds of devices. There's an enormous amount of different devices that you can use. And the cool thing about them is they are super reliable and they're also super cheap for what they offer. So whenever you have any kind of sensor application, maybe it's worth checking out the Phidgets if they have something that you can use. Okay. When you buy Phidgets and you connect them to your machine, you of course need a driver. The good thing about it is it's only one driver. You install it once and then you can access everything. Not 5 devices, 5 drivers, just one driver for everything. Perfect. Together with the driver comes the Phidget control panel. So this window is the Phidget application itself. What you can see over here are my local Phidgets, which is the VINT Hub and the RFID. And I can also see the remote server, so the little compact player I have. Let's check out what I did to achieve this. I am opening a little VNC window. So this is VNCing into the compact player. And the only thing I had to do was going into the control panel, access the network server tab, and start the server over here. So I can stop it and start it. I can, if I want to, set the whole thing up to start automatically. So I'm powering up my machine and it automatically starts the web server. That is it. And if I now go back to the control panel on my local machine, and I also activate the web server there, Windows asking for permission, you can see that now on the little manager I can also access the Phidget I have on my laptop. Let's stop that again to save some resources. Okay, so this is the Phidgets control panel. This is an important thing. You will also need it when you are working with Widget Designer. We will come to that later. Okay, where do I get my Phidgets from? It is in devices. And if you have the previous version of Widget Designer, you can see that the list has grown since the last time we added the jog shuttle and the spider and of course the Phidgets. I personally like to just open the configuration dialog where I have everything in there and work from there. So to add a new Phidgets device, for example, just the RFID reader. I can select that from the list. This list is not 100% complete yet. There are a few devices missing, like for example, a light measuring, a specific one. We are going to add those over time, but with what we have in here, you can already do nearly everything that you want to do. So an RFID device. That is it. The name is the same name as you already know from all the other widgets. So from a custom script, from a fader, from a variable, this is a unique name. You can rename it to whatever you want as long as it's letters, numbers, and underscores. Done. It also has an ID and an enable checkbox. I will show you something about that in a minute. Okay, first of all, serial. You either know the serial number of the device you are addressing, or you are just taking the drop down. If you had several connected, you would also see them in the list. So this one gets the data live. There we are. Don't forget to press apply. And we are connected. And now about one little thing that you should know. You see that little dot over here. It has turned blue. If a device is connected and enabled, it is blue. If I disable the device, it is gray. if I remove the device, I hope that's the right USB. It is. It is going to be a blue circle. So this means it is supposed to be enabled, but the device is not connected physically. Go back in. There we are. And you can also see it's really quick. I mean, I just barely touched the USB port and it was already connected again. Okay. Let's see if it works. This RFID reader has a couple of LEDs. So there's an internal LED that you cannot see because it's inside. You have to find the exact right angle to see it. But there's also an external LED connected, which is the little dot over here. So if I turn that one on, it is on, bright blue. And now we know it's connected. Perfect. Okay, that's the one thing. But now you might want to know how to do anything with it, because you can see I have a little RFID tag over here. If I put it over there, nothing happens. Of course not, because I have to program something. And there comes another feature of this cool new devices management. It is, thank you, Windows, for this camera image that overlays everything else. The event listener. If you have already worked with the ActionScript node, this is something very similar. So you are selecting a trigger, and then you can perform some kind of script according to that. I'm going to call that one RFID, enter. And now I can select something from the list. Whatever I have added to my list over here in devices, you will see the more we're going to add, the more events you have to select. So now let's take the tag enter script. And another really cool thing is you have two different parameters that you can use within your script, like in the ActionScript node, the value. But now it's a bit more specified. So you can use the tag and the protocol. Let's check out what it is first. So what I want to do is just say my label number 1, text equals the tag. And for us to see what it is, oops, there is a plus missing. And the protocol. Let us apply that and see what happens if I add that one. Oh, did I make a mistake? Okay, it's a bit slow right now and a bit confused. Okay, so that is the tag I just added, the black one. As you can see, this over here is the tag, so the string of characters that is saved in the tag, and the protocol is EM4100. There are 4 different protocols for RFID, because this is not a Phidget thing itself. RFID is much older. There is the EM4100 protocol. There is an ISO protocol, one that's called FDX-B, and one Phidget specific protocol. Each of those have their specialties, like they need a special encoding, or they can only consist of these characters or something like that. So whatever you're using, check out what it is. If we take one of these little fellas, this is a Phidget tag, and the cool thing about these is they don't need to follow any rules. It's I think 24 characters, ASCII characters that you can use as you want. And the nice thing about these blue tags that I have in my project is that they are rewritable. So I can actually use a a specific, well, yeah, RFID tag that I want to use, which I did, which is going to be red, yellow, green, and blue, just because I can. Okay, and now I'm just going to add a leaf script so that we have a reset. Leaf, tag leaf, and then we're just saying, come on, label 1, no tag. Apply that. So, and if I do this, I have no tag. Now I have red and no tag. And one more time. There we go. See, that's so easy. And it's really nice to use. One more thing. Of course, you can also script whatever you want with that. You remember that we gave our items different names. So my RFID has a specific name, and also my event has a specific name. So I can now access those. For example, if I add an RFID, I have my 3 devices I have added. So I can disable and enable these events. So if I disable them, of course, they're not going to be executed anymore when I enter an ID tag. That is going to be very helpful in a couple of situations. And what you can also do is check for the state it is currently in. So sometimes you do not know if it is currently enabled or not, so I can just check it. And if we disable this, let's test this. You can see it already marked the little gray circle. So this is now disabled. Great. What you can do with the RFID fidget itself, over here, there are a couple of really interesting commands in here. And every single fidget that you can integrate has different members that you can use. You can enable and disable the LEDs that I showed you. You can get and set certain things. I'm going to talk about the get and the set stuff in a minute. Let me check at which point. Oh yeah, when we're working with LEDs. Okay, so you got a whole bunch of am I still online?
Oh yeah.
Excellent. Okay, I'm now running on wireless. So yeah, we'll see how well that works out. Let me just quickly redo everything that we just did. Oh well, you have seen how the event viewer or how the RFID event is working. So I think I can leave that out. I was just about to tell you how.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt. Should I give you back the rights to share your screen again?
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Yes.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
There you go.
Okay, wait. We have this one. Okay.
Right.
Is it online?
Yes.
Excellent. Fantastic. So now back to where we were. Okay, I was just about to tell you how to access the sensors that are connected to the VINT Hub device. So that is a bit more complicated in terms of getting a few parameters. So let's check out the list of Phidget devices. And what I need to know now is what exactly is the sensor that I want to use? Is it is it a voltage input or a voltage ratio input device? There is a difference. When you have your fidget, then you can just check the item description and see if it is a voltage or a voltage ratio input. The slider I have, for example, that is a ratio input device, and the light and the sound sensor are voltage input devices. You can also have digital output and digital input devices. The RFID device that we already know, and the sound and temperature sensors are very specific devices. The sound sensor, for example, can give you a lot more information than the little thing I have here, which only gives me the decibel value. You have the interface kits. And even if you have an interface kit that is not in this list, so there are a few more, you could add the outputs as a single output via those two. So you you have access to a lot. Let's get started with the voltage input device, which is my sound device. Okay. Let's check out the serial. So what do we have here? 5301890. That is the ID of my VINT hub. Because my sensor is connected to a VINT hub, I have to use the hub serial to which it is connected. Let us open the Phidgets control panel. There it is. Come on. And see what I have. I know that I have plugged my sensor to port number 0. And I can enlarge that and check out this one. When I double click on one of these inputs, you can have that for every single device you connect. You get detailed information about the device that is connected. One very important thing that you will need is this little icon over here. That you will need to access information over here. So you can see hub port, channel, and is hub port device. These three pieces of information you will need to know. And this is also what is in here. So hub port is 0. This means this is the first hub that I have connected to my machine. So let's enter a 0. Device channel is also 0. If I had connected it to another channel, then it would be the other channel number. So this is the first one, so 0. And is hub port device true? So yes, checkbox. Okay. What I do next is select the exact device that I have. I looked it up, so I do know that my little sound sensor has number 1133. Just it's written on the Phidget itself. Just check it out and select it from the list. If it is not in this list, you might want to check out the voltage ratio sensors. It's probably in there. So let's check out that one. And now let's hit apply. Aha, it's not working. As you can see, it's not connected. There is a reason for that. Being you can only access one Phidget from either Widget Designer or from the control panel. So as long as you have this information open, you cannot access it from Widget Designer. As soon as I close all of these, and you see immediately the blue dot and I'm connected. You can have this overview open if you want to, although you should close it when you don't need it anymore, just to save some resources. But if you want to access the device itself, then you need to close all the other windows. Okay, so it's a sound sensor. Let me clap and let's see if something happens. There we go. It's a decibel value. Nice. These two values over here are the standard values for the refresh of the information. So if I want to have it a bit more fluent, I can reduce the interval time to, let's say, 150 milliseconds, and maybe also the trigger value to 0.05 and apply that. And of course, if I want to see that properly, I want to add some kind of display. So what is a nice one for sound? Yes, a bar graph. Okay, how do I get a value from my voltage input? Oh, let me rename that one. Phidget sound. How do I get that from my Phidgets dialog in my bar graph? If you do remember the previous ways, we did have nodes. So in input and devices, we had a couple of Phidgets nodes. Those are all gone now because we have the event listener now. So what I do is I'm creating a new event listener. Let's call it P8 for Phidget and sound. And as you can see, the sound sensor has been added and I can use the value. Now what I do with it, I think I'm just going to write it into a variable. A new one, it's a double value. And call it volume. And what I do next is I just use my new volume and set it equal to my value. And this does, in principle, the exact same thing as a Phidgets input node on a variable output node would do. So every single time this thing is triggered, every single time we register a new a change in value change, this is going to happen. Apply that. And now we're going to add some nodes because the bar graph is only accessible via nodes. Generic variable. Volume. And value. So, and if I clap now, you can already see that something's happening. Excellent. Okay, and this is how easy it is. All you do is you set up your device, you set up an event listener, you retrieve your value, and then you do stuff with your value. Nothing else I did with my whole setup. So I'm also retrieving the value of the little slider. I'm also retrieving the value of my light sensor. And that's it. Thomas has a question.
Yes, I have a question. Can I also directly push the volume onto the bar graph without having the nodes?
Unfortunately, not. Okay, wait, let me check one thing of which I'm not 100% sure. Oh, that one could work as well. So if we do this one and maybe remove the node connection. Yes.
Oh,
fantastic.
Now I like it.
It's great.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I never used the bar graph value. Yes. You can also do that. So, yep. That's as easy as it gets. Okay, so for the interface kits, we are going to access those next. Okay, let's take a look again at our Phidgets control panel. So we see over here that we have the remote server, which is manager number 5, and we have 2 interface kits and 2 stepper motors connected to it. And now we want to get those. So, okay, let's start trying the interface kit. I'm going to just add the interface kit. And, my list is empty. As you can see, this is not an error. This is because we first need to set up a server. So Widget Designer does not automatically recognize all the Phidget servers in the network. You have to add the server manually, which could not be more easy than as it is. We just had Phidgets server device. Enter the IP address, which is 52. This is the standard port, but in the settings of the machine itself, you can, of course, use any other port, and you can add a password if you want to. Apply. There we are connected, and I now can see that I have my interface kits and my 2 motors, and also the IDs of those devices. Back to the interface kit, and now I also have my drop-down list. Beautiful. Okay, so let me check which one is which. Okay, number 85 is, yes, those are the LEDs in front over here, the red and green ones. And let's connect that and see if it works already. So I have, as I mentioned before, I have digital in and outputs and the voltage channels, so the analog inputs. I can control the digital outputs from here. Ooh, the wrong one. My notes are not correct. How dare I? Okay, it's been the wrong serial number. Sorry. There we are. As you can see, I'm switching on the 4 red ones and now the 4 green ones, and also off again. So nice and so easy. Remove that one. And now starts the fun scripting. So let's see what that can do. If I say my Phidget interface kit, I have funny things like set all output states. So this is going to apply a certain output state to all of those digital outputs. They only have true for on and false for off, so that's quite easy. True and the same thing for off. And if we now press the button and release it again, you can see it's on and off. Yay! That is nice. Of course, you can also access every single output. If you continue going through the list, so there's lots of points. You got all the inputs single, all the outputs single. You can set everything. You can retrieve everything, whatever you want. Let's say output number 0, which is the leftmost red LED, and see what that one has. Okay, so here you can see the new improved member structure that we have. We have a get and a set for those who feel more comfortable with commands that are obviously or that are doing something very obvious. So with get state, you can get the state it's currently in. It's false for the moment. And you can also just set the state. Just enter the word, test it, and there you go. Whoops. If you can spell correctly, that is. And there you go. And for those who prefer the object and member notation, you can just use the state member of that one, where you can assign something with an equal sign. So that is a true value. Test. It's on. You can also switch it off. And of course, you can use that value. When we test that, we can retrieve the value. So whatever you feel most comfortable with, go for that. You have this exact thing for nearly everything you can do with a Phidget. So you have, if you can retrieve a value, you have a get command. If you can set a value or write a value, you can use the set command. And you can use the object and use the equal sign for assigning a new value for whatever there is. There are a couple of things that you cannot write, so there is no set command. In that case, you can also just retrieve the value with the member. It's, for example, the stepper velocity. So if the motor is running and it has a certain velocity, you can retrieve the velocity, but you cannot set it. So that's something you need to, well, figure out on your own a bit. But it's also very intuitive. So go ahead and test and try. So if we now have something like this, we can also do a couple of games. For example, a for loop with 0 to 7. And then we can say Phidget kit. set output state. And the cool thing is over here you can add the output as a variable. So this is something you can use in a for loop. I and true. Let's add a little wait command so it doesn't happen all at once. And the same thing in the other script, just with false. So if I do that now, it's setting everything on, and now it's setting everything off. So pretty, isn't it? Okay. Let's, oops. Of course, I have removed the bar graph and I just generated a new value. So it threw me an error because the bar graph wasn't there anymore. Okay. If you're checking out what else the interface kit has, so you have the digital outputs, we know those already. You have the digital inputs, which are basically relays, and you can already assign a script there if you want to. So if you receive a digital value, if you receive an electric signal, then you can enter a script here for when you receive it, and if it's gone, you can have another script, and that you got for all 8 channels. And the voltage channels, as is something you know already as well, you can just select any kind of device that you can connect. Over here, this is a pure voltage channel, and you can't connect anything else to it. So yeah, but it doesn't matter if it's a voltage or a voltage ratio thing. Interval and trigger we have talked about as well, and that of course for all 8 input channels. There we go. Now let's take a look at the stepper motor. Plus stepper device. And if I check out my drop-down, I can see the 2 serial numbers of my steppers. Which one did I have? That one was my little wheel over there. Okay, so now that is going to be a bit more interesting. For this, we are going to need our fidget control panel again and check out what we have to enter for the hub port and channel and all that stuff. Okay, it is this one. Over here you have a couple of different things. What you need is the stepper controller. So I'm opening this. The screen is so full. And remember the little red icon over here that is going to tell you more information. Okay, so this is not a VINT device, so it does not have a hub port, and of course it also doesn't have the checkbox. Okay, but the device channel is 0, so we have to enter a 0 over here. Okay, let's close that again. Check out what we have here. Our current limit is 1 ampere. We got that one over here. Rescale factor over here. There's also 1. That seems good. Okay. And if I hit apply, you see again, it is not connecting because I still have that dialog open. Close that one and see it is connected immediately. And I already retrieve a couple of values over here. So what do we have here? I have positions, velocity, well, it's not moving, so it's 0. Acceleration. There we go. That's basically everything we need. When you are working with motors, you need to check out the capability of your motors. Not every motor is able to do every kind of velocity and acceleration. So these are the default values that are also provided by the fidget control panel. Whenever you are using a device, it makes sense to check out what it can do. In my example, for this little Ferris wheel has a minimum speed of 4,000, so I can't go any slower than that. And unfortunately, this is just slightly too fast for my application. You will see that. Okay, how do we use it now that it is connected? Let us make a new button. and check out what it can do. Phidgets stepper 1. Okay. The first thing you need to know about a motor is that you need to engage it before you use it. So if I set a velocity now, tell it to move, it's not going to do it because it has to be engaged. So every script, first engage. Next step. There are many different ways how you can use this motor. So you can set up a certain position to which it is supposed to go, or you can set up a certain constant movement. That is up to you. You can get many different values. For example, the minimum and maximum acceleration velocities. You can get the states that you can set. For example, if it is engaged, this is also a good thing to check. If you have a larger application, check if your motor is engaged or not. And this one is pretty pretty interesting. Is it moving? So you often do not see what you are doing in the little server room that you have. It's pretty cool if you have an indicator telling you if it is actually moving or not. And this is live data that you get. This is not something that Widget Designer thinks it just told the motor to move, so it's probably moving. No, this is a feedback it gets from the motor. So this is if it is really moving or not. What I want to do is move continuous. I have to add an acceleration, let's say 4,000, and a velocity, which is also 4,000. And I like to add a little wait command just to make sure. And let's see if it's working. There it goes, and it runs. And if I want to stop it again, I can just search for something that is called stop, like this one, and stop it. There you go. And now you know how to use a motor in Phidgets. Okay, so much for the showing part. Do we have any questions that should be answered now before we are looking at the track? We don't. Fantastic. Okay, so I'm now going to open a new Widget Designer. Just a minute. Okay, there we are. Let's open the demo file I have. Okay, excellent. And make that slightly smaller so I can see something. Okay, you basically don't need to read what's on the buttons. Okay, first station is my sound sensor. So this bar graph, as we just had it, is linked to my sound sensor. Working. Over here is my fader. So the little fader we have over there with a paper crane on top is going to move this widget fader. We have the light sensor, and if I switch the LED on top of it, you can see it is sensing light. And over here is the little Ferris wheel, which is going to detect the ID tags. Okay. Yeah, let me quickly explain what's going to happen, because it's going to happen quite fast. So here's the light sensor. When I'm starting my track, it is going to detect a sound, and if it is 70 decibel or more, it's going to start the chain reaction. That's a little yellow area you can see in the interface. Next thing we have is a first stepper motor. So this one is going to start turning it around and pulling the little fader. Of course, you have to stop at a certain point. So you do not want to have the motor pulling and pulling and pulling while the fader is at the end. So you need to add a little stop command as soon as it reaches a certain value. When that one is pulled right to the top, it is going to activate the light sensor over here and the LED on top. And if the light sensor has, what was it? I think about 350 lux was what I set up, then it's going to activate the Ferris wheel. And the Ferris wheel is going to have those little LEDs. Every single time one of those LED tags with the bright color or the RFID tags passes the sensor over here, it's going to switch the respective LED on or off. And another little thing, those LEDs over here are the status LEDs. Let me reset those. There we go. So every station has one status LED in red for not completed, and when it is completed, it's going to switch to green. Yeah, it looks great. Thomas, is there anything else that I should mention? Was that clear?
In my opinion, yeah, I think I got it.
Okay. Okay. Then let us start. Oh, it's so cute. Of course, I added a few wait times, so it's not just cluck, 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 but there's a little a bit stuff happening. Okay, and it's working nicely. And as you can see in the front, I have also added a small final animation. So with a couple of LEDs, you can have a whole lot of fun. And it's so nice. And there you can already see over here that the wheel is slightly too fast for this application because it misses out one or two of the tags every once in a while. But yeah, this is something you can integrate into your setup. There you go. Okay, this would be everything that I wanted to present today. Is there anything I could still talk about? Anything that I could show?
Yeah, actually, people are awesome made.
That's nice.
Yeah, feel free to put in questions if you want to know something about our setup, about Phidgets, or something. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to stay online a couple of more minutes for any other questions. I'm also going to leave the camera on and leave my desktop on if there are any questions for which I need to show something. And yes, thank you very much for joining. I hope you had a little fun, and I'm sorry about the technical difficulties, but well, it happens. We all know the internet and computers. Okay then, goodbye and farewell.
Bye-bye.